Good afternoon, everybody. We're very glad to have you with us. Friday afternoon, we appreciate in South Africa. It's Friday morning here in the U.S., so we're still waking up, but I'm sure we'll have a great session today. It is my pleasure. My name is Ben Hoseas from the Lean Institute Africa, and happy to know many of you, and really happy to share some of these different tools and practices that I've been able to come across and people I've been able to meet, such as Steve, and then bring those into our Lean community back in South Africa and Southern Africa. So Steve, welcome. It really is a pleasure to have you join us. And Steve and I have been working together for many years now and very closely, and we've had many long car rides and long discussions on strategy and different things about the lean philosophy. So I think we've butted heads, but in the best way, that we've been able to share ideas and really think, how do you simplify some of these esoteric lean principles that we like to throw around? And I think they're all highly accurate and usable, but how do we really take the kernel and then build on that in a really powerful way? And when I've seen what Steve's been working on with simple AI, it did blow my mind, as I hope it does for you today likewise. And it really is special that Steve has a gift to be able to take the complex, put his spin on it, and then really present it to the market and the community in a very unique way. So I hope you feel that same way. We'll obviously record today's session. We'll have it available after the time. But Steve, if you don't mind, feel free to give a quick intro as well for yourself and then get right into it.
Very good. Yeah, thanks, Ben, for having me. Spent a lot of time with Ben talking about how to bring lean principles into the software space and the human development space. And although I'm not going to be using a lot of lean language in the presentation, because this is a presentation I usually give to non-lean audiences, I think you'll see a lot of those principles baked in. So if you just kind of squint your eyes a little bit and think about how does that relate to a lean principle, I think you'll see quite a bit of those principles baked into the presentation today. So I'm going to be sharing my screen for the majority of this presentation. And as I mentioned to Ben, there we go. I got my sidebar up, so I feel better and more in control. I'm usually inside of Zoom, so but we're good. Okay, so we're going to talk about the AI performance formula here today. I'm going to do my best to tailor it to the lean audience, but just by way of background, from Simple, we're the world's leading experts on AI and job performance. Our mission is to guide you through the transition to an AI-powered economy. I suspect a lot of you are paying attention to that if you're here today. And we fulfill on that mission by equipping folks with future-proof skills, safeguarding livelihoods, and unlocking new opportunities for growth. So that's what we're doing. The one thing I want to get your mind focused on today, there's only one idea that I could implant in your head and have you leave with, is that the future belongs to AI performance engineers. And what we mean by that is this is a tweet, but also a job ad that I found on X, formerly Twitter, a couple of weeks ago. And it's by a gentleman by the name of Andrew Wilkinson. So first of all, just to know who this gentleman is, you think about Warren Buffett, but for internet companies. He has a holding company. He's got many, many different companies in his holding company. He's a billionaire. So he's this is not like some AI Twitter dude. This is a real businessman. And he's asking for an AI-first director of finance. So a real role in a very important holding company. And what he's asking for, and this is I could spend all day talking just about like what he's asking for here, but essentially can do the work of 10 people using AI. That's a pretty bold claim. And I will suggest to you that the fact that he is asking for it means that it's possible and that he will have found this kind of person. And that in the very near future, probably by the end of 2025, this will be the world that you live in. If you are applying for a job or you're applying for a promotion, the expectation will be that you will be able to do this as well. And so we'll come back to that a couple of times before we're done here today. But that's what we're really going to be talking about. AI performance engineers equals somebody that can do the work of 10 people with AI, where previously it took 10 humans without AI. two promises for you here today. We're gonna leave you with a plan to go from. And I have no idea where you are in your journey in AI, but if you're just beginning, a proven plan to go from a beginner to a top 1% in AI skills in less than 30 days. And to the extent that you're here as a solopreneur, I think we'll find out why you're here in a second. How to use AI in a marketing context to generate leads for your business. But most importantly, we're going to be focusing on AI. And so before we get started, and just so I can get some sense of who is here today, we want to do two things. First of all, open up your favorite large language model. We're actually going to be giving you some prompts to run on your end. So whether that's ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini by Google or Claude by Anthropic, if you don't have an LLM, go to chatgpt.com right now as we're talking and create an account. And you'll be able to participate fully because that should only take you about 30 seconds. Secondly, post in the chat right now. And we can move forward with the rest of the presentation when most of you have put a letter into the chat. So this is going to be a full participation session. Why are you here today? A, for your role at your company. So you want to get better or more efficient in your role. B, if you're here as a solopreneur. Or C, you're here looking to help your team increase their performance. So give me an A, B, or C. And once we've got that going, we can move on. I'm going to just go and open up the chat if I can. I cannot actually see the chat from here. Then we have, maybe give me the polling, and or are we getting folks posting in the chat?
We are. We've got the majority of A's, couple C's popping in there, Steve. One B, but mainly A's and C's.
All right. So we're going to keep it. That's perfect. That's exactly what I'm hoping for. We're skewing towards one of the letters. That's always the most helpful. Okay, so we're going to talk about today then mostly how to use it for your role in your company. So we're going to be talking about the three actions in what we call the AI performance formula: working faster, solving smarter, in tracking and communicating. We will talk about the three opportunities. We'll skip the solopreneur part. We'll focus mostly on employee and as an employer, what that means for you moving forward. And then we're going to give you three options for what you can do next. One of the options we're going to offer you is we're going to offer you a free next step to work on your AI journey with us. We call this our golden ticket. It's a little cheesy, but what we want to offer you is $2,400 in free AI training. And if you put it's basically our flagship AI training program. And if you put your email address in the chat at any time today, that'll be your way to get that golden ticket. And so we'll just basically look at the chat at the end of the session, grab the names, and that's will be who will get access. So this will be before this session closes down is your opportunity to do that. So if you already know, if you like free training, just go ahead and do that now. If you want more details, we'll do that at the end. Okay. So
Steve,
here we go.
One quick housekeeping note. Sorry to interrupt you. I've just emailed everybody in the meeting here the prompts for today. So if you can go ahead and pull up your email as well, you'll see 4 prompts, Word documents that we'll have ready for when Steve gets to it through the presentation. So please go ahead and do that. Let me know any trouble with a private message there. But go ahead, Steve. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. All right. So let's get into it. So first one is work faster. And ultimately the question is it's a really simple question. How can AI help me do my work faster and easier? And what we do in this step is we start by breaking down all of the role, tasks, and deliverables. And you're going to open up your productivity matrix prompt. So let me explain what you're going to be producing here before you do that. So this is a matrix. The inspiration for this matrix was the Harada method. I won't get into the details. I'm sure some of you know what that is, but maybe all of you know what that is. Was what Shohei Ohtani used to become the world's best baseball player, now probably most famous athlete. So this is essentially an 8x8. I know it's 9x8, but it's, the gray area is what is important here. And so across the top here, what we have are all of the role responsibilities. This is very specifically a productivity matrix for a project manager at a human capital management SaaS company with 5,000 employees. It's very specific, and that'll be important in 1 second. But that's what this is for. And across the top, these are the role responsibilities, the things that probably show up in your job description when you show up on day one and you sign a piece of paper and you never look at it again, those things. So it's for a project manager in that type of a company, it's project planning, obviously, team coordination, risk management, stakeholder communication, and so on. And down under each column are what are the things that need to get done on a day-to-day basis in order to fulfill that responsibility. So for a project manager, it's work breakdown structure, it's project timeline details, project charters, and so on. And so this is the prompt that produces that for any role on the planet. So you're going to copy and paste the entire thing. We're going to go to your large language model. I use ChatGPT. We're not going to get into all the different models here today. If you're using ChatGPT and yours looks different, this is the desktop model on a Mac, so don't worry if it looks different. I'm using the same one as everybody else. We're going to paste it in. And what you're going to do is you're going to scroll back up to the top, and you're going to put in your role, your company size, and your industry. That's why I said project manager, HCM, SaaS company with 5,000 people. So we're going to say, let's do, we always like to make this relevant to the audience. Let's say it's quality manager. And you don't really need to spell things right, by the way. That's like a first thing, side hack kind of thing. You can spell things wrong and it'll understand what it is. I'm going to say 1,000 people, and let's say we're in food manufacturing. So put in those 3 things for your role. It's most important. The thing that is critical is that you see this working for a role that you have been in, because you're going to be able to tell whether or not that matrix is right or wrong. And what we find is when we run this, what you're going to see is it's going to create basically what I just showed you on a slide, but live on your screen, are the things that a quality manager in a food manufacturing company are responsible for. So quality assurance, regulatory compliance, food safety management. I don't know whether or not these things are right. You're gonna understand if these are right for your role. My experience has been, and we've done this for thousands of people, is that if you correctly put in those 3 slices of your world, it'll get it to like 80 to 90% right. There might be 1 or 2 columns that are not quite on the mark because every company and every role is different, but ultimately you're going to get what most people's reactions is that's pretty darn close. And that's what we're looking for. And if it's not as close as you want, all you got to do is you say, let's just say you're not responsible for regulatory compliance. Just go to the chat window and say, replace regulatory compliance with blank, whatever you want, or get rid of regulatory compliance and suggest another one. So you can just use your English language to tell it what it got right, what it got wrong. If you want to change boxes, you can do all that stuff. So most people don't fuss around with it that much, but if that's something you want to get it perfect, you can certainly do that. So that's good. So we're kind of like 1 step down the track now. We've got some idea of how AI can help. And that's some of the areas in which AI can help you do your job faster and easier. The next question is, well, we need to actually get work done. So each one of these boxes is what we would call a productivity tool and a productivity AI operating procedure. So we're actually going to start doing work in these boxes using AI. This is specifically, so this is the project, the WS. I suggest you don't run this one right now because you could go down a rabbit hole and then you're not going to pay attention and that would be bad. So I'm going to suggest to you strongly, and too late because you've got them in your hands, but don't run the WBS and don't run the brand story one yet. Wait till after. You'll have plenty of time to play around with it. So we're going to paste this in. So at the top here, this is, like I said, for a very specific type of role. You would change this to project management expert in, let's actually go ahead and change this to what we said. I'll take an extra step here for a food manufacturing business. I'm doing this on the fly. I don't know if I've got any other things in here that'll blow this demonstration up, but we hope not. So we'll go ahead and run this. So this is a work breakdown structure tool, which if you're familiar with work breakdown structures, it's something that would, take hours to get done for most people. I've put in apparently food manufacturing business, and I took that one through. So let's actually, I'm gonna just to be safe, we're gonna run this as it is, so I can show you the principle behind this rather than the specific. So we're gonna run this as the SaaS manager, but the principles are the same. So what it's going to do, it's going to take something that would otherwise take 8 hours for a medium-sized project, days for a large project, and it's going to boil it down into something that will take us 20 minutes. So it actually takes me longer to describe how these tools work than it is to run these tools. So it's step-by-step process. So we're going to work through creating a work breakdown structure step by step. It's going to, in every step, it's going to give an introduction. Here's what we're going to do in this step. Here's the information that I need from you in order to do this step well. And then here's what I'm going to do after you give me that information. Now, what I'm going to show you here is that you can actually just be way less specific about the context than you otherwise might be. So I'm just going to say building a new website, new marketing website. Let's say we got a $20,000 budget and 1 month deadline. That's not a lot of context, right? So it take me 10 seconds to type that out. What we're going to find is going to take that really small amount of context and it's going to produce a pretty good objective and scope. And so it's actually going to help me in every single step compress the work. And right now, what you'll notice if you edit that prompt to be more specific about your role, you're going to find out that it actually knows quite a bit about how to do that project specifically. So it'll know how to do rolling out a total quality management project, whatever it is that you'd want it to do. So I would say, okay, and I'm using the base model LLM. If this is more advanced stuff, which we wouldn't cover today, but if I was doing actual work, I'd probably be using a reasoning model. So then say yes, move on to the next step. And then ultimately, it's going to take me about 20 minutes to work through this, and we're not going to go through all of that today. But here's it's creating now the major deliverables. And I'm getting a voice coming back on me, Ben. Somebody I think needs to be muted. There we go. Thank you. We could continue on step by step, but the end of this would be an incredibly detailed work breakdown structure, all of the roles, all of the responsibilities, all of the work packages that need to get completed. And it would be done in 20 minutes and it would be good for any project that you want to do anywhere in any industry. And so we're compressing several hours of work into a very short amount of time. Keeping in mind that we got another one on. If you can do a mute all, Ben.
Yep. Apologies, Steve. Go ahead.
Thanks. Sorry. That's still on. It's my kryptonite. I can't.
It is.
There we go. All right. So imagine now compressing all of the roles, deliverables into a really short amount of time. That's what we're talking about. So this is what we often hear from people is, okay, that's great, but certainly it can't do blank. And what I can tell you, if you've run this prompt, and I suggest you do, otherwise you're not going to get the full experience, is that if it is on your screen right now, um, the AI, you plus the AI can do that task 10 times faster than you alone, with no compromise in quality and usually an increase in quality. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you are still the arbiter of what is good. You're the quality control mechanism in this process. But you plus AI compared to you can do that task 10 times faster. And obviously, when we're thinking about lean principles, that has a lot of implications for the work, especially if you go and you do all of the tasks. All of a sudden, all of your daily work gets compressed by 10 times. You have some free time on your hands. And we'll talk about what to do with that free time next. The other thing about this, which is not immediately obvious to most people, which is um, learning how to do these things is done in the exact same way. The best way to learn something is to do it. And the best way to learn how to do something with AI is to do it with AI. What these tools do is actually walk you through the step-by-step process in how to do those things with AI. And so you're learning by doing. So you can actually, for areas, and this becomes really important when you're training somebody for a new role. If you're giving somebody a promotion into a role they haven't done before, this insanely accelerates the learning process for how they will do that job. It's a custom role training program for every employee in your company, customized down to the role and the industry and the company size. Insanely effective at getting people up to speed on how to compress their work. Okay, so that is step number one. I'll tell you more about the turkey story later, but I think you get the idea. Being a turkey doesn't sound like a good thing. It's not a good thing. The only way to be a turkey in all of this is to keep trying to find ways how this won't work. If you continue to do that, you will ultimately, at the end of the day, be a turkey. Okay, so now let's just say very, very conservatively, if you're diligent about going and using AI and all of the different things that you do day to day, you find 20% of efficiencies. And the easy way I like to describe this is, imagine you're now doing your work from Monday through Thursday and you get Friday off and you can decide to do something. If you're not worrying about a promotion or keeping your job, maybe you'll take a sick day. If you're worried about getting a promotion or growing your business, you'd probably start working on some higher order tasks, solving problems. This is like the best analogy, I think, in the lean world, for at least for me, and you guys may have better ideas, is like the Toyota kata. It's like, how can we go find solutions to significant problems in our roles? And so we move on to the next step, which is solve smarter. And these are really easy questions, like, how can AI help me solve problems in my role faster and easier? And usually what happens if you're trying to solve these problems, especially in companies that don't use lean principles, because in lean, you're trying to teach everybody how to solve problems. Most companies go out, hire consultants, come in and fix my problems for me. Then this question is, well, what if we could get all of the world's top experts to help us create better results? What might that look like? And so what we have next is our performance matrix. This is a different role. This is lead generation expert for a marketing agency, which I'm going to demo a tool in here and give you a meta level demonstration on this. But you're going to do this for your role, and you're going to open up your performance matrix. All you're going to do is you're going to copy the entire thing. In this case, there are no edits that need to be done. We're going to go back to the same chat where we've got our first matrix. We're going to paste it in, and we're going to hit enter. And what will come out is essentially across the top. Actually, I'm going to let that run, and I'm just going to explain it on this screen as it's running really quickly. So same idea, Harada matrix, but the difference is across the top here. Now, instead of role responsibilities, we got what are the typical metrics that this role is responsible for increasing. KPIs, usually in most companies, it's like they set them quarterly. I know in lean, it's more of an agile kind of thing. But ultimately, for a lead generation expert, it's increased qualified lead volume, increased conversion rates, enhanced brand messaging, and so on. And then beneath it are here are all, and this is the one thing you got to For people outside of Lean, I think inside of Lean, this is obvious, but anything designed to make a KPI go from the current state to a desired state is an experiment. It's not like hey, do this and results will always follow. So these are all what we would call KPI experiments that you can run, inspired by the world's top experts with step-by-step instructions on how to do them. And so when we come back in here, you'll see that this is the case. So reduce product defects. We've got an expert and a strategy. And so very similar to, and I don't know all of these experts, like there's some names in here that obviously the famous names. It's going to pull from a lot of the famous experts in that space. But it has reduced product defects across the top, improve regulatory compliance, standards, efficiency, and so on. So pretty good. Things that we would probably want to be better in this role. And then here are a bunch of experiments that we can potentially run to do that. And so well, I'm going to demonstrate. So one of the other things to point out is this works really well when you know what good looks like on the other end of something. So I'm going to demonstrate a tool that I know what good looks like on the other end so I can, in a meta perspective, explain how this works. So for a lead generation expert, I'm going to show you the brand story prompt. One of the things you do to increase your qualified lead volume and decrease your cost per lead and all the things that are important for a lead generation expert is you enhance your brand messaging. You tell a better story through your marketing, you get better results. And so one of the experts in that field is a gentleman by the name of Donald Miller. And one of his methodologies is called building a story brand. So we take an expert and their methodology, we apply it to our work, and we run the experiment to see if it actually helps. So I'm going to copy and paste this prompt. I'm going to put it in to ChatGPT. Again, you can use any large language model here, and we're going to run it. So just like the other tools, we're going to have a process that goes step by step. There's going to be an introduction. There's going to be a request for some context, and then the tool will continue. So in this case, I'll explain what this tool is designed to do. So previously, I ran a marketing agency for 10 years. And one of the first things that we would do when we go to clients is we would say, we're going to do some research to understand all the buying triggers about how people decide to buy your product. And that's going to enable us to tell a better story on the other end because we'll understand all of the things that are going on in their head as they're making this buying decision. And most companies haven't gone into this level of detail. So what I would do is I would hire like an expert to go out, interview all their customers. It would take calendar weeks of time. It would take tens of hours of work by somebody I'm paying externally to go and do. And then I would package it up and I would bring it to our client and mark up the price. And, and the end result was that clients loved this work. Tens of thousands of dollars. It would turn into this really nice, huge deck that I get to leave behind. Really real consultancy type of stuff. Here's your expensive deck. Here's all your big thoughts. Now go away. But also it'd be a really valuable tool at the end of the day. So that's what we're going to build here. So if I had just run this tool, it would be done by now. So again, it's taking me way longer to explain these things than it is to do them. So I'm going to say the context here is what do we sell? Who do we sell it to? What's the result that we get? And this is really straightforward. It's going to help professionals increase their job performance with AI. So what it's going to do now is it's going to ask if we want to move to the next step. But ultimately, we're going to go do this customer research that otherwise would have taken tens of hours of actual time, several weeks of calendar time to get done. And so we're uncovering what do people want when they're buying this kind of thing. Career acceleration, they want efficiency and productivity, they want confidence and AI mastery. I know these things to be true because we've been working with folks over the last 2 years in AI. Those are all the things that people want when it comes to AI. And again, we could insert any context here and this would dramatically change the result. Then it's important to think about what are the things that haven't worked in the past, because if you're making a purchasing decision, that's really critical. So what are the past failures? So information overload, lack of practical application, failed experiments, all the true. What are people worried about? If I use AI, will a job replace my job? This is a huge anxiety for a lot of people. It's incorrect. It's a Irrational fear that it doesn't come true. It's actually the reverse. If you don't use AI, you probably should be worried about somebody with AI replacing your job, which is a cliche in the AI space right now, but it's true. What are people suspicious of? What are the deal breakers? So this would again be very expensive research that would get done previously is now just with a little bit of context with AI and it's done. So we're kind of like halfway there. So this is like research. So it's not actually a document that gets used in a business. But now we're going to turn this into a brand story. And usually you'd have to hire another expert to go and do this. And currently there are people that you can hire that run this exact process. They would sequester your executive team in a room for a full day, which if you're keeping score is very expensive. So you're not only paying that person, you're paying your team to be in a room. And at the end of the day, you're going to get a document that looks a lot like this. It's a brand story. Here's the hero of our story. Here's the problem that they have, both an external, internal, and philosophical problem. Here's the guide, which is us, that's your company, who gives them a plan. Here's the plan of how we're going to solve this problem. And so this becomes the document, the base level document that tells the story of the brand. So if any of you are working in companies where there are marketing people, they should have some form of this existing to inform when you're talking to customers, here's how we talk to them, and here's what's going on in their minds. And so what I just showed you was tens of thousands of dollars of work. And now from here, you can actually say, like do a rewrite of a landing page selling an intro workshop, whatever it is. And that now it's using this context to build whatever the next thing is. So from a lean perspective, this is just eliminating so much waste, including a lot of the cognitive work that human beings think that they need to be doing in the process. And these tools and these underlying large language models are getting better and better and better every single day. So again, imagine, and that's just an experiment, because then we're going to, so like, that's the thing I'm always trying to tell people outside of the lean world is like, this is if we're running an A/B test on a website, here's your A, do another one, you got your B, and in 2 minutes you can run a test. And as you probably know, the people who run the most experiments win. That's ultimately what happens. And we're going to find out that will be true of everything in this new AI economy. Every single person on the planet is going to have to learn lean principles. Is that when you're trying to get better results, it's about experimenting, and it's about how fast can you run the experiment so that you can see the results and you can iterate and continue the process. So same idea here. You don't want to be a turkey, and everybody has their pet thing of, but certainly I can't replace my expertise. Again, you can validate this for yourself. But if it's on your screen right now, it can replace your expertise. And so if you're trading on your ability to have some special knowledge in your brain that is going to be responsible for your livelihood into the future, I would suggest to you that is not a good winning proposition. I'll tell you the turkey story real quickly. I ran a company called Read It For Me for almost 15 years. And I read a business book a day for the majority of that time. I don't suggest that is a good thing for anybody to do, but it's what I did. It's part of my job. I loved my job. And one of the books I read was called The Black Swan. And that book was all about random events that you can't see coming that tend to be responsible for most of the large impacts in society. And then what do you do about that? And in that book, the author talks about the turkey problem. And the turkey problem goes like this. For almost every single day of its life, the turkey wakes up like clockwork. They get fed on a schedule. Life's great. They get to play with their friends all day. And that is their existence until the very last moment, where usually sometimes around Thanksgiving, somebody grabs its neck and it's lights out. And they never saw it coming. And so ultimately, unfortunately, that is what is happening with a lot of people around the world right now. Is as soon as, if we go back to that ad I showed you in the beginning, as soon as somebody figures out that one person plus AI can do the work of 10 people without AI, 9 people are gone. And that you might not like that fact. You might have moral issues with that fact, but that is going to happen. And the other side of that equation is if you're one of the 9 that get let go, you're now injected into a work environment or a job market that was going to have a lot of ads that look an awful lot like that. So there's no way that this doesn't work its way through the society. It doesn't work its way through the job system and impact every single knowledge role on the planet, and eventually soon, even manual labor jobs. So the only thing to do is to figure out how to use AI to work faster and solve smarter. And then the last step, these two things alone, like basically guarantee the result. However, because we're all human beings, this is essentially a huge behavior change project to get done, and we need to find ways to help people make those changes. And so we need to track and communicate all of the results that we're producing along the way. So we turn it into a game for how many improvements can you make, how much productivity can you improve, what are the KPI metrics, and making sure along the way, and this is like a message to everybody really, if you're an employee, make sure you're tracking your results along the way so that when it comes time and the organization decides who are we keeping around in this role or who are we promoting in this role, you can show them that you can do your job plus 9 others using AI, and you'll have become what again we call an AI performance engineer. So those are the 3 things that you need to get done. Pretty straight. It is very simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. And if you're diligent about it, you can get it done. The thing that we always say is there are 2 requirements for people to be successful in AI. This was not true maybe a year ago or 2 years ago when everybody was talking about prompt engineering. The AI is now your prompt engineer. And if you can copy and paste on one end, like I showed you, copy and paste those prompts, those AI operating procedures. They're actually more like AI operating procedures because I'll take like a couple minute detour on this because this is an audience that will understand this. Most of the people we talk to don't. This is version 1 of a standard work for AI. This is not like the way it should be done for all time. And you would then, if you didn't like the output at one of these steps, you go in and you type in some English words of this is how I would think this thing should be done differently. And that becomes version 2. And that becomes version 3. And that becomes version 4. So having standard work for every one of the things that you do in your role with AI is ultimately how this system will work. So it's not a static system. It is a living, breathing system that ultimately you will have control over. And so that's really where the opportunities lie. And so for an employee, we're going to see, or every time there's a large shift in the technology, there are orders of magnitude opportunity for employees, for people who want to start their own gig on the side, and for people who are employers. And this happened when the PC revolution came around. This happened when the internet came around. This happened when social media came and mobile came. And so all these shifts, but this one is probably going to be the biggest of all. And the shift is going to be that there are orders of magnitude opportunity that if you're focused on the right big direction, like the one choice is I will become, in our language, you can use whatever words you want, an AI performance engineer. You make that one big decision, the pie at the end of the day is way bigger. This opportunity is going to be unequally distributed to people who do this well, but the prize is big. So for employees, there's going to be a lot of $1 million employees running around doing the work of, like, first it's like we can do the work of 10 people. Then eventually it's like you can do the work of 100 people because the tools actually get exponentially better on a very compressed timeline. So today it is possible that you can do the work of 10 people using AI as opposed to 10 people not using AI. It's just true. So most people think, well, I'm going to get fired if I do that. It's actually the reverse. You have now created yourself into most valuable employee at the company. And the company will know that if I don't pay this person more, they're just going to go somewhere else because they can do the work of 10 people. So you have the bargaining power in a situation. So actually the way it works out is your salary goes up, doesn't go down, and you get promoted way faster than before because you plus AI can do your boss's job probably too. So that's the prize for employees. For solopreneurs, is going to be many more solopreneurs making a whole ton of money because they can do the work of, again, 100 entrepreneurs building these businesses. For employers, it's very straightforward. And again, I think I wouldn't describe this way to other people, but if you use this tool set plus lean principles across your organization and with the right cascading goal structure and making sure that everybody's rowing in the same direction, and you're using a strategy methodology that is taking advantage of the market opportunities. There's just so much opportunity for the right strategy to be deployed to very quickly and agilely, is that a word? Agilely? I don't know. Maybe I made it up. To get everybody setting goals and make sure they're all aligned with the ultimate goal of the organization. And then from day to day to insane, like the idea would be you could set a strategy, get the organization aligned with new KPIs, and actually give them a new tool set of things to do within a day. Like which otherwise would have taken weeks and maybe quarters to get done. You can get all of that done very quickly. So it's not just like daily work kind of stuff that gets compressed. Strategy gets compressed. The quarterly planning gets compressed. And now when everything gets compressed, you can do more turns of the crank on your strategy. You can do more turns of the crank on your goal setting to see how people are making progress and so on. It's a huge opportunity. So there's going to be way more companies that literally come out of nowhere because they're using lean principles with AI. And nobody will know how they did it, but they will just appear because they're operationally have figured out how to apply these principles in the AI economy. And so that's what we wanted to show you today. The one thing I want to implant in your head, if you're willing to take this, is that the future belongs to AI performance engineers. This is the future. It's the future you're going to live into, whether you like it or not. But it's a choice. This can be the best thing that's ever happened to you. It could be the worst thing that's ever happened to you, and it'll all depend on how you decide to take action on it. Our only plea to you is like, don't do nothing. That is the only way to lose in this game, because as I said, for every group of 10 people, it's going to be an amazing year for one of them. It's going to be a horrible year for the other 9. You're going to see that played out over and over again. Set an alert for the news on AI and layoffs, and you'll see that this is going to come true, and it is true daily. So your 3 options, like do nothing. Please don't take that option. That's the worst option possible. Do it yourself or find other folks to help you navigate. There's so many places you can go to get AI knowledge. We're aware of that. It's a big opportunity, so lots of people are kind of flocking into this space. But I would suggest to you that if you've seen some things today that you haven't seen before, or we've described it in a way that you haven't seen it described before, that would suggest to you that maybe we know some things that other people don't, and maybe we can be helpful to you in your journey. So again, the same offer that we made before is to take that next step with us. This is a free offer, no strings attached. We're offering you essentially our foundational training in community. It's regularly $2,400 a year. What we focus on in this training is what's going on in the world in AI. This is unlike lean principles. There are things that are happening very quickly and they create arbitrage opportunities. And so that's what we're focused on. What's going on right now? How does it relate to increased job performance? And how can you use it to, if you're an employee, most specifically, how can you use it to get promotions, promotional opportunities, and advance your career? We regularly charge $2,400 a year since Ben brought us here today, we're offering that to you for free. This is the agenda that we go through every session. Every session is different. And ultimately, we will also, as a bonus, offer you 1 month access to our premium programs. Same ideas from the beginning. Go ahead and put your email address in the chat and we'll follow up with you to get you in on this. This will be your only opportunity to get it. The only question that might be on your mind, like why would you offer your flagship training program for free? It sounds suspicious. I get it. Here's the deal. I like showing this picture. Ben knows this, but you don't know this, but I am not tall. This is me and my family. I'm actually 5'7". My family just happens to be much shorter than I am. Thank goodness. So I get to feel tall when I show this picture. Flanking me and my wife, those are my two daughters. One of them is in high school. The other one is about to be in high school. And I am very concerned that they are being prepared for a world that will no longer exist when they graduate. And I view it as my responsibility to make sure that both of them, when they are launched into the real world, that they can stand on their own 2 feet and they can fight for whatever it is that they want to fight for, and be a productive member of society. And I apologize if there are any educators here, but I have very little faith that the education system is going to do a good job of that. So I'm here for the long run is my whole point. I am here until I am in this space. I'm obsessed with my daughters being prepared, which means I get to help other people be prepared as well. And I can make money on that. So my point is I'm in it for at least the next 10 years. And I have found that the best way to build a business is to have immense value first. We'll find a way to do business with you later, if we're providing value first. So that's why we're offering it. We do obviously have other things to offer, but we want to offer an immense amount of value up front, and that's why we're offering this to you for free. It's not made to everybody for free, but you need to do this before we close up today. So that's the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about anything we've covered, either big picture stuff, technical, prompting stuff, anything that you've got in terms of questions. I'm happy to answer them.
Let me start by saying thank you, Steve. And I think I'm speaking on behalf of the group. Quite an impressive presentation. It gets the wheels turning for sure. So welcome any questions here in the chat or Q&A, or if you feel confident to take the mute off and ask it, feel free to do so.
Yeah, that's the way we'd love to do it. If you have any questions, take yourself off mute and fire away, but I can definitely put my head in the chat as well.
We've got one initial question here, Steve, from John. Do you have a master prompt to make new prompts?
We call that a meta prompt. It's more like you use the AI to create the prompts. Like the AI is the prompt engineers. ChatGPT came out in November 2022, and at that time you actually did have to do a lot of different things in order to get what you wanted. Yeah, you could start with just asking ChatGPT, please create a prompt that I can use to copy and paste into a large language model that would do blank, and just tell it what you want it to do. You'll get a very good first pass at that, and then you take it and you try it and you keep editing. That is going to be by far the most productive thing you can do to learn how to use AI productively in your role. Just ask it for what you want. Like it's always the funny thing about, so I do a lot of coaching with executives on this stuff, and in between sessions they'll come with me like, can ChatGPT or can Copilot do blank? I'm like, well, did you ask ChatGPT or Copilot if it could do blank? Oh, I didn't think of that. So tinker around, ask ChatGPT if like what you're asking from me is I want a meta prompt. Ask ChatGPT to create a meta prompt. I think you'll learn a whole bunch more that way than by me giving you the meta prompt that we use.
Nice.
Even with just even that, sentence there plus those matrices is I've given you everything that you need in order to start. It literally, you can get to the finish line on your own. The only question would be, do you want to get to the finish line a little bit faster? That's what we would help with.
Steve, a question from me personally is we now see an abundance of all these new AI tools popping up and whatever different functionality. So how would you answer that question of how do I stay on top of all these new tools, or how do I look at ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini? Like, how do I discern between those?
Yeah, it's a good question. If you give me a little bit of rope here, I can actually this would be something we would typically cover in the intensive, but I think it'll be useful to show you just very quickly. So one of the things that if you're taking your first dive into AI, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get into it. You're going to be excited. You're going to go on like X or LinkedIn, and you're going to see that every day the world has changed, and like the new thing came out, and like, oh man, the world, like, still nobody gives a crap about this stuff, like, on the whole. So you're gonna think that you're like so far behind and that the world is blowing up every day, but it's just not. So this is the way to think about it. And this part of what we do well and is giving people a long-term view of what's happening and to truly understand what's going on. Because the world is not blowing up every day, in case you haven't noticed. It's like the world goes on. So this is the thing that's critical here is that we have what we call the AI layers, the 5 layers of the AI tech stack. We have these 6 thinking lenses that we give folks. This is the one that is probably most relevant from a tech perspective. So the base of every AI tech stack is going to be a human. That's like the one insight that most people don't get. It's like AI is not replacing your job. This is the cliche, is that AI won't replace your job. Somebody using AI will. This will always be true. There will always be a human using the AI. It's not, the AI is not going to, if the AIs ultimately can operate without humans, like, it doesn't matter anymore because we're going to be dead. So, or like the pets of AI. Like, so until then, we're the base of the tech stack. Then there's large language models. There's only a few large language models. This is the key insight. It's OpenAI's ChatGPT. It's Copilot's actually built on top of OpenAI for now, so that's not even one. The Anthropic, Claude by Anthropic, Gemini by Google. There's Llama by Facebook or by Meta, and there's a couple of other ones. DeepSeek's now one from China. The only thing to realize here is that any other piece of software ever built is built on top, that says we're an AI tool, is built on top of those. And the thing you should do before you buy any other AI software, and by the way, this will be just increasingly true because you now need billions of dollars to compete with those 5 or 6 players in large language models. Very few people are going to come out with new large language models that are world class. We can debate that, but that's just probably the way it is. Because more computing power equals better large language models. So every other piece of software is a piece of software that is run on top of that. The first thing you should do is when you see those other pieces of software is ask, how can I reverse engineer this with ChatGPT or Claude or whatever? And you work on it. All it is, sorry, one more quick second, because this is, if I had like one insight that other people don't have, and I can give it to you, it's this. This you plus a large language model plus a workflow, those things that I was showing you today, those are workflows, plus data is everything you need in order to do anything on the planet with AI. That's it. You don't need any other software tool unless you've tried this first. So unless you've tried yourself plus LLM plus workflow plus data, do not use other software. This is how you will build the muscle. If you go buy something else and because it's the new whiz bang thing, you'll have missed a huge opportunity. That's what I would say about that. So keep focused on that, and that'll be the way forward.
Very good. Steve, judging by the Q&A, John and Ghani would like to buy you a virtual coffee. So we'll have to make that happen at some point to continue this discussion. But let's ask one of Ghani's questions here, because John, we have touched on one of yours. So the question I think that comes to mind here, copy and paste from LLM software versus human deductive thinking and decision making. Is there not a risk in the blind usage of AI?
So at the risk of offending everybody, these reasoning models, for the most part, are already better reasoners than most human beings. So, and you would only understand that if you use the most advanced reasoning models over an extended period of time. I first had that experience when I first got access to the $200 a month ChatGPT Pro, which gave me unlimited messages with their reasoning models. And there is a danger that potentially they'll make a reasoning error, but that would assume that you've never made the comparison is like, have you ever made a reasoning error? Like, of course you have. Have you been very sure about reasoning and been wrong? Of course. I've found that the speed at which it enables you to think critically is worth the trade-off of maybe it makes a mistake here or there. And over time, it's just going to get better and better and better. So it's not going to get worse. And in the 2 years since 2 years and a couple of months since these models have been released, it's gone from like you needed to do, it does crappy work and you had to like really babysit the thing, to like it can come up with you can see things that you can't see. So I think it would be a debate, and if we ever had a debate about it, it would be agree to disagree if we couldn't agree on it. But I think the trade-off is speed. In all of this, everything is about speed, and the people who move fastest and make the most decisive decisions in this space. And there's ways to safeguard against like your own like over reliance on AI, and that's where we say, like, knowing what good looks like is really the key. You copy and paste, but you also need to know what good looks like. I maybe didn't make that point clear enough, and I have a slide I skipped over where I make that point. It's like if you have domain expertise, that is still important. But it's important in that you know what good looks like, not that you produced it, if that makes sense. You're the quality control mechanism at the end of whatever process you're running. And pattern recognition is probably the skill. You've seen enough chess moves over your lifetime that you know you can just say that's good or that's not good, and you'll spot the errors when they happen. I don't know if that answers the question or not.
I think so. Steve, we got maybe one last question. It's a double thread question. One, what is a reasoning model? And then the other one, what's the role of these new agents that we're hearing about, these AI agents?
Well, I'm going to go back to my trusty slide deck because we have ways to help folks think about these things. So a reasoning model is the 5 stages of AI development. A reasoning model is like the second stage of AI development. So chatbots is what first came out. It's the 4.0 model that I was using today is a chatbot. A reasoning model basically thinks through an answer before it gives you the answer. So when I was demoing today, the answers were coming immediately. So it's called like a single shot prompting. It just boom, it gives you an answer. With reasoning, it actually has a chain of thought. It says it, and it goes step by step. The user is asking me for this. I think it means that, and then it actually reasons through the answer, which just ultimately shows that for any task that it's trying to do, if it has any reasoning involved in it, it'll just do a much better job. So reasoning models right now are already at PhD expert level in almost every valuable domain on the planet. Math, coding, like software developers are about to be decimated. And that's a pretty high level, for the most part, domain in the world when it comes to like reasoning and quality control and all those things. So that's what a reasoning model is. It just thinks through its answer before it gives you the answer. And what was the second part of that question?
It was around the agents, and John asked, can it help me trade stocks, and can I let it go in my sleep and make money for me?
Yeah. So agents is next, right? So that's the next level up, is like, so that the AI is off doing work for you. So every question you would ask me, I would explain probably using these 2 slides, because this is what's going on. And yeah, you could except, and I know that was a tongue-in-cheek question, but like everybody, it's always like if it's possible for you, it's possible for everybody, right? So now you just got a bunch of AIs competing. So there are arbitrage opportunities in all this, and that's why first mover advantage is important. Is because eventually everybody does it, and it's no longer a competitive advantage. It's like the cost of entry. So any scenario where you think like you're going to use this stuff to not do work, like you're just going to go sit at the beach, that future does not exist for you. Sorry.
Nor will you want to when you're using this tool.
Yeah, it's like work when you're doing fun stuff is fulfilling. So hopefully that remains the case.
Agreed.
All right.
Well, very good, Steve. Thank you again, and definitely appreciate the time. We got a lot of follow-up questions. So, Steve, I think we'll share your email address. Obviously, we have everybody's email in the chat that signed up for the golden ticket. So we'll make sure we follow up with you on that front. And really, this is our hope, team, from the Lean Institute side, that we can keep opening the door to this type of insight, because we realize this is the way the world is heading. Lean plus AI plus whatever tool. So if you have ideas on additional topics or AI themes, we would love to hear that from you likewise.
All right. Thanks for having me, Ben. Appreciate it. Thanks all. Have a great weekend.